Now, it may not be a super day, but it can be a super day. That's right everyone, Dragon Ball Super did not come out today. Instead, Dragon Ball Super episode 109 will come out next week as a 1-hour special. The fight between Goku and Jiren will hot up and finalize itself next week. So instead, let's talk about Dragon Ball Super and what it's actually meant to us prior to this episode, all the way back to episode 1. We are going to do a countdown or a list, because people like lists, people like Dragon Ball, so Dragon Ball list anyone? Please note that the list that I'm about to share with you might differ to your favourite Dragon Ball Super episodes. In fact, I think it probably is going to differ from your list. So if you have your very own list of favourite Dragon Ball Super episodes, feel free to leave them in the comments, I'd love to hear them. Another important thing to remember is that Dragon Ball Super is still an ongoing series, so there are plenty more stories that could actually follow up past this list. So a newer episode might actually make it onto a list later on down the line, and I'll do another one then. This list is accurate as of episode 108 in September 2017. So without further ado, let's talk about my top 5 Dragon Ball Super episodes. Number 5, and this one's a twofer, episode 66 and episode 47. The climactic battle, the miraculous power of the relentless warrior. An SOS from the future, a new dark enemy emerges. Now, I tried to justify one over the other to get to the number 5 point on this list, but after many hours of deliberation, I just could not pick between the two, so yeah, this one's a tie. Both of these episodes sparked similar emotions. Episode 47, for example, was a fantastic way to introduce a brand new arc to Dragon Ball Super. Yeah, I'd been recovering since the Universe 6 arc and a really stale 2 first rehashes. Now this was the point where Super was beginning to get its own traction. It brought back an old favourite in the form of future Trunks, as well as hurling Super into a much darker tone than what we'd seen previously. And if you think I'm being over the top, then compare what we had before to what we got in episode 47. Yeah, Future Bomber being killed? That's pretty dark. Goku Black's initial onslaught in that episode was horrific. And considering that this was the future that we thought Trunks had won, and then we realized that he hadn't, and it was actually in an even worse state than it was before during the android bit, man, that guy cannot get a break. The sheer impact of this episode alone was enough to merit in the top 5. The animation, all the other stuff that makes an episode, yeah, that's just a bonus. Conversely, episode 66 joins episode 47 because of the sheer emotional relief that it gave me throughout the entire experience I had with it. Now if you're thinking, but Masako, episode 67 was the ending. No, it wasn't. We got fantastic visuals, thematic music, Vegito Blue, as well as seeing Zamasu get his well-deserved comeuppance. Oh, I enjoyed that, and if you've been catching up with these reviews, then you'll know exactly how I felt. It was pure catharsis, and actually getting to see Trunks deal the final blow in that situation was so good. He so deserved it, considering that this was his problem, and he had to be the one to finish it. And yeah, there was a lot of frustration and confusion that Trunks seemed to learn all of these attacks off screen, especially that weird sword spirit bomb thing, Spirit Sword. But at the end of the day, now I've had some time to think about it, it's not so bad. It makes a lot more sense now than it did at the time. I feel that that episode has aged much better than other episodes. Every time I look back at that episode and I see Zamasu getting sliced in half, I still feel the same amount of joy. It's not gotten old. Again, it's just such a shame that episode 67 just practically undid everything that was good of episode 66. Trunks didn't win. Nobody really won. Because Zamasu was gone, Trunks' world was gone, and just like... ugh. Number 4, episode 27. The Earth explodes, a decisive Kamehameha. This episode is particularly close to me because this was the first episode that I reviewed on this channel, and when I look back on that one, I've come a long way. You can check every single episode that I reviewed in a handy dandy playlist I'll leave a link to in the description and up top, if you're curious, and I'm guessing you pretty much are. This backdrop and I have gone way back. As for the story itself, it came at a time when the Resurrection F arc couldn't end any sooner, because it was a rehash of a movie that we'd just seen a few months ago, and it was done on a very low budget. Episode 24 in particular is probably one of the worst episodes in Dragon Ball Super. This arc was a really bad carbon copy, and we were actually curious to see what Super could do when it was handed an original story, something it could actually do by itself and not just try and ape two really awesome movies. This episode was the final part of that really mediocre arc, and for some reason, they really pulled out all the stops and it turned out fantastic. Of course, this increase in animation quality is not new in anime. Usually at the beginning and the end, at particular key plot points during an arc, the animation budget is suddenly increased just to increase audience engagement and just get the hype out there. There were also some very key differences to the way this episode ended in comparison to the movie. Most notably, the way that Frieza blew up Earth, because in the movie it seemed a bit sudden and we were all like, what just happened? But in the episode, it was a lot more grandiose and actually horrifying. I remember going on about that a lot during that review. It reminded me a lot of Barefoot Gen in terms of its just sheer horror and impact. And yeah, I'm not comparing Dragon Ball Super to Barefoot Gen. Barefoot Gen is a classic, and that point of Super, it's chalk and cheese. It shocked me to the core, and even more so when I was comparing all of the really bland episodes that had come before it. It came at the right time, and thankfully everything turned out okay thanks to Whis' time rewind ability. I think that this episode saved Dragon Ball Super from being perceived by the community at large as this just being a completely obvious cash grab exercise. Fortunately, Super has managed to recover from a very tepid first 6 months to actually being something somewhat meaningful. Number 3, episode 105, A Desperate Battle, Master Roshi's Sacrifice. Throughout the Tournament of Power arc, many people were quick to judge about Roshi's place in the team, myself included. Even I doubted his credibility for being in the Universe 7 team. And yeah, I will hold my hand up and admit I was completely wrong. As he and other characters justified, experience does count for something, especially in Super. In fact, it's made it quite compelling that this might be where Goku got his battle and martial arts insight from. Well, at the moment, Roshi seems to be in a bit of a renaissance. He has changed his ways quite remarkably. He's gone from just a copy-paste old man pervy character into someone who is battle-hardened, experienced, and really quite reliable. He's become a serious fighter, someone who's got a second wind, inspired to try and learn more and break new limits, thanks to the youth of his pupils Krillin and Goku. If they can actually find new limits, then why can't he? This episode showed him doing so with great style and pizzazz, as well as a lot of emotions. Then to top it all off, when the chips were down and it looked like Roshi might have to sacrifice himself for the greater good of the team, not only was it just conducted so masterfully, but it was really tugging at the heartstrings. Dragon Ball Super isn't much of a tearjerker, not even when compared to Z, but this moment, I must admit, was so moving. Roshi's stand against those stronger than him, and him counting on his experience and just knowledge, was so wonderful to see. And the fact that we got to see him eschew his pervy ways and become someone even better was just fantastic, and I'm glad that it's sticking. Number 2, episode 15. Valiant Mr. Satan, work a miracle! A challenge from outer space. As I've said countless times, when it comes to the slice of life episodes or the cooldown episodes from a really intense arc, Dragon Ball Super excels in them, hands down. Super brings on the comedy in spades, and it's fantastic. Episode 69 is an honorable mention, the one with the Dr. Slump crossover. That was hilarious. That just barely missed out on the top 5 spot, by the way. But what made this episode reach the number 2 slot was because of the antics of Mr. Satan, our Lord and Savior. After Beerus' foray on Earth, people were looking for answers about what the heck just happened, and naturally, they went to their master, Mr. Satan, and thought he would know what to do. What happened, Mr. Satan? Do tell us, it would be so exciting if you did. To witness Mr. Satan skewing the facts so much about Beerus, the god of bat destruction thing with weird hair and all that thing, and people believing that, and this was battle in space with Mr. Satan flying around all over the place, and him going Super Saiyan of all things? Oh my god, that was hilarious! Another thing that assured this episode's spot on the list was the way that Goku was portrayed in this episode. And what followed is probably, at least in my opinion, the funniest thing I've ever seen come out of Dragon Ball. Goku flying away from a Mr. Satan punch with tractor in tow, over the building. I'm just lost for words with that every single day. Even now, it still makes me laugh so much. And now, number 1. I think you pretty much know what it's gonna be. Episode 39. A fully mastered time skip counterattack. Is it coming? Goku's New Technique. I think this one is relatively obvious. Kaioken times 10. Blue Kaioken. Not only did we see Goku adapt Super Saiyan Blue into something fresher, but it also saw an old technique, a good old faithful technique even, that we thought had been long forgotten by everyone in Dragon Ball. The Kaioken technique. And when you combine that with fantastic visuals, animation, the actual build up towards the Hit versus Goku fight, time skip, all these things wrapping itself up into one episode, yeah, brilliant. That moment when Goku shouted Kaioken was probably one of the most glorious moments in Super. We also got to see Hit develop into something quite different. Initially when we first saw him, we just thought he was just the, oh, I'm just the really quiet assassin that really doesn't talk. Oh, I'm so weary. But when we actually got to see him being challenged by Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken Goku and having to adapt to this power and actually seeing him coming alive, I remember the sheer impact this episode had on the community, and that was just the subbed version. We are not that far off from seeing the dubbed version of this episode. And if rumors are led to be believed, even Mr. Schemmel, the guy who plays Goku, is excited for what we're about to see. This is going to unleash a second wave of hype within the Dragon Ball Super community. Those who've been waiting for the dubbed version. Oh, yeah, Super's taking off. Yeah, look forward to that episode on Toonami. So there we go. Here are just 5 of my favorite Dragon Ball Super episodes as of now. There are plenty more to come, I can assure you. Yeah, I know. Episode 109 couldn't come soon enough. We've been dying to see the actual result of Goku vs. Jiren for months. It's so soon, it's only a week away, but we just gotta hang in there a little bit longer, guys. It'll be worth the wait. Dragon Ball Super is taking itself much more seriously now, and I feel like in the coming months, or maybe even years, that we're gonna see episodes that will actually change top 5 lists of favorite Super episodes quite considerably. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of episodes that were on this list now won't be when I do another one. So what do you guys think? Did you like this list of favorites? Do you have your own list you'd like to share? Leave a comment below and let's get this discussion going. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Until the next one, be sure to like and subscribe. Catch you later!